Hello to everybody out there. Yesterday was the day where my last Blue Note arrived. Now I can say I'm the proud owner of the 1500 series complete. So I thought I'd do a video about it, and I don't want to talk about too much about the music. I don't want to rate the music. I don't believe in rating. You should listen and enjoy it, and that's all. The rest is for the scientists. But with all these Blue Note videos, I think I can add something, because I have about 260 Blue Notes now, 270, and I have them in all different pressings. And there's not so much talk about the quality of the pressings. I mean, you find information, but maybe not so much videos. So I thought I concentrate this video more about the different versions. So on some records, I think there's no need to buy an expensive reissue or even an original. There are some originals here, but not a lot. So I have mostly Japanese pressings. But okay, let's start with the first two records, 1501, 1502. Miles Davis, great records, but these are reissues that Blue Note brought out on the 10-inch series. And these are records, they are from the beginning of the vinyl era. These recordings are more or less from the beginning of the vinyl era. So is it necessary to have an original? I don't think so. I think you're fine with a reissue. These two are French reissues. This is called Parte Marconi. I don't know how you spell it. I'm butchering it. Sorry, I don't speak French. So it's spelled P-A-T-H-E and then M-A-R-C-O-N-I. And I think they are decent pressings. That's kind of a middle class pressing. The only ones I would stay away are the DMM ones, Direct Metal Masters. I think they really sound bad. So, but the French pressings they did before the DMM time, they sound decent, at least better than a Scorpio. So the next 1503, 1504, Bud Powell. This was kind of interesting for me because this is a Japanese Liberty pressing. I never saw this before. I think this is the only one I have. And it's a stereo pressing, and it's called a division of Liberty Records, as you know it from the American Liberty pressings from the late 60s. This is a Japanese one. It also has the sheet in it where the liner notes are translated in Japanese. So this is, I like Japanese pressings a lot. And this one, it's kind of interest. That's a King pressing. So there are two pressings in Japan who are important. This is Toshiba and this is King. I prefer the King. They say the King pressings, they did it with tube equipment, the mastering, and I think it sounds better. There's not a big difference. It's not night and day, and the Toshiba pressings are very good, but the King pressings have more warmth and more dynamics. So, but do you have to buy a King pressing for recordings that are pretty early recordings, where all this record business was just with vinyl records was just in the beginning, because these are reissues of 10-inch records? Do you have to spend the money there? I don't think so. You are fine with a black B or a white B reissue. Like this, a white B, a blue B. 1506, 1505. Great records. And to me, I can live with this pressing, but collectors say it's not that good. I don't think so. I think it's okay. Same with this. On here it's also, I have here a black blue, and this is a King pressing, Japanese King pressing. And as this is the same session, you can compare this, and this is very interesting. And sure, the King pressing wins. It dwarfs the black blue, but in general, the recording, the quality of the live recording is not that great that we have to talk about audiophile quality. That's my take on it. So, next one, 1509, Milt Jackson, Japanese Toshiba. Next, this is Toshiba, and this is a black blue label. and it's also the same session, so you can compare it. And in this case, it's also a black blue against the Japanese, and this is a Toshiba. The other one was a king, so the Toshiba wins, hands down. No question about it. It's 15-10, 15-11. First Jimmy Smith. Sorry, I'm a guitar player. I say Johnny Smith. It's Jimmy Smith. Also Toshiba pressing. Toshiba, 15-13. Now it becomes interesting, from there on, because these are records made at the time, late 50s, and you hear it. You hear the quality of the Japanese pressing. It's not only the pressing quality, because they are very quiet, they have a very low noise level. It's also why I recommend the Japanese, because Japanese take care of their records. They are really in near mint condition. It's really hard to find a Japanese pressing which is in bad condition. Maybe just because it's in bad condition because an European or an American guy had it for 20 years and didn't care about it. But when you buy them from Japan, what I do, because they are cheaper there, then you get them in great condition, very low noise level. And I think the pressing and the mastering is very good. It's very good. I even like them more than the originals. Again, a French pressing, but not a DMM, so I'm okay with it. These two, Yoda Hip, 15, 16. These are both king pressing. And do you need to spend the money on a king pressing for a live recording, which is not recorded as perfect as it could be? It's from a club. It's not a studio. I don't think so. You could save money on this when you buy a cheaper pressing there, and then maybe invest the money in records where you hear the better pressing more. Gilmel, 15-17. Again, a Japanese pressing. And again, Irving Nichols. Oh, what a great record. Toshiba. Toshiba again. So these are also, I think these are reissues too. I'm not so sure. So yeah, now it's time for the original. This is an original. I found this very cheap. One of my lucky days in collecting. But I also have a French pressing. This is again this Pathé Macone. You find them a lot in Europe. I mean this is the second one. This is 1522. My take on originals. If you can afford them, great. Do they sound as good on modern systems? I don't think so. To me, when I listen to this original, Lou Donaldson hurts my ears. It's so pushy, it's so right in your face. For a modern system, I don't think the originals are the best. And maybe now you turn this video off because you say I don't know anything. But hey, I'm a musician for 40 years, all my life. I do this as my job. I worked in studios. I did mastering, I did recording. I worked on both sides of the console. I know my stuff. So even if you don't agree, okay, I'm fine with this. But I know what I'm talking about. And to me, the old ones are a collectible. It's a historical piece. It's a money investment, and I think a very good money investment if you have the money. But if you're in it for the music, and I am in for the music, you don't have to spend this horrible sums of money to get this all in original. Except you're a very rich man. Then I'm jealous. So I'm fine with the French ones. They are much more comfortable to my ear than this original. So next one, Tone Poet. Well, nothing to say about Tone Poet. Everybody knows what this is, and this is great. This is perfect. I think Kevin Gray is the best guy for today for mastering these Blue Notes. He's the best, no question about it. Again, 1524. This is a Toshiba, and from the first 25, this is a white B, and they say this is an inferior, this is not so good, or some say it's middle class. I'm on this side. I think it's a middle class pressing. The white blue and the black blue label, they are okay. I can live with them, but when I can afford it, I stay away from them. Okay, first 25. Let's move on. So let's move on. 1526, Clifford Brown. This is a king pressing, very good quality. This is also a king pressing. This is a fantastic record, man. This early Thad Jones stuff, I really like this. Yeah, that's a king pressing. This is an example where you should invest the money. Not only because it's great music, because all the Blue Note stuff is great. It's also great recorded, and when you have this in a good pressing, then it's worth to spend the extra money. As an example, this is now 1528, 1529. These are Japanese Toshiba. This would be okay for me. I don't need to have an original on this. I don't have to need a king pressing on this, except I get it for the same money. Modern reissue, Yoda Hip, 1530. This is a 75th anniversary, and so a lot of people say they are bad. But I also heard there's a difference between Europe and USA. I heard many complaints about these pressings in the USA and not so many about Europe. So are we not that fussy about it? I don't think so. I think they are better here. And to me, this is a decent pressing. This is a middle class pressing like the white B or the black B. And I'm okay with it. I know it's digital. And there is a difference from these pressings to the Japanese. But you get them cheap, you know, so why not? Next one, these are again reissues from the 10-inch era, Fats Navarro, 31 and 32. And this is a French pressing, and this is a Toshiba. And again, I can compare, because it's the same sessions, more or less. And do they sound different? Yes. Toshiba is better, no question. But is there such a big gap that you pay twice the money? Well, you don't have to, I think. Johnny Griffin, fantastic record too. This is a 75th anniversary, and as I said, they are decent pressings. So the Paul Chambers records are so good. The bass player makes the great records here. This is a Toshiba, and it's worth it. It's a great sounding record. 75th anniversary. This is something I like this record very much, and I think Kenny Dorham is very underrated. And whenever I find a king pressing of this, I will buy it and replace this, because on these records I really cherish and I really love. I'm willing to invest the money. I want to hear them as good as possible for me. And as good as possible for me is the Japanese king pressing, or early Toshibas from the 70s. Well, 1536 Japanese pressing. And I think it's mostly Japanese now. Again, Lou Donaldson. Lee Morgan, I love Lee Morgan, Toshiba, and Toshiba again, Horace Silver. Horace Silver is also very underrated now. I think I get the impression, and I don't get it because he's so fantastic, especially his early Blue Note stuff is so amazing. Toshiba pressing, Hank Mobley. Hank Mobley was one of the sax players I skipped, and I regret it because I really like him. As I started, you know, I come from the time where we had hard disk with 100 gigabytes of music, and we didn't listen to the records. First we bought CDs, and then we had it on the file, on the hard disk. And I didn't listen to Hank Mobley, and then I rediscovered him, and I love his records, really, and I love his playing. He's very musical, fantastic music. And I love to own them now. Okay, Liberty, Japanese. Also something, this is a mono, because there's always this mono stereo discussion. To me, with the old Blue Notes, I like them in mono. I think they sound better in mono, but I don't like the original mono, the Blicky I showed you before. I like it when it's a Japanese mono, because you have the mono sound, you have a very low noise level, and they are not that aggressive and not that pushy in the mid-range. So when you listen to the old pressings, for me, it's like you have the fader for 15K or 15 to 2.5K. When you turn this up, then it's also very piercing in your ear, and I don't like this. So Toshiba 1542. Something I do, because maybe you're thinking about, well, it's all Japanese pressing, where is the OBI? I don't like the OBI on my cover. I put the OBI inside. I mean, people show this Japanese, and there's also the translation sheet and everything, yeah. When people show this Japanese pressing, they always show it with the OBI. I hate the OBI. I keep it, sure, but there's so much thought in the design of this. I mean, this is Andy Warhol cover. And then you put the OBI here. Sorry. So when I put the record in the back, I can enjoy the cover. I don't want to look at the OBI on a Japanese translation. Sorry, Japanese guys. This is a mono again. Toshiba mono. I like them very much. Again, 1544. Lou Donaldson, 1545. Lou Donaldson is also an artist. I always thought, well, it's the funky guy, the funky alto saxophone, because I didn't listen too much to his early records, and his early stuff is hard bop at its best. He's killing. Thad Jones again. Well, I remember I saw the Louis Thad Jones big band in the Village Vanguard live. So, but I never checked out Thad Jones as a trumpet player, and I rediscovered him now with collecting all these blue notes, and he's a fantastic player. I like him very much. So the next two, Jimmy Smith. This is, Toshiba again. As you see, most of my collection is Japanese records. Toshiba again. Also a saxophone player. I skipped Cliff Jordan, John Gilmore. John Gilmore, I don't know, but Cliff Jordan, I rediscovered. And again, Hank Mobley, fantastic record, 1550. And also Toshiba. Okay, let's move on to the next 25. So, okay, 1551, 1552. Here comes Jimmy Smith again. And again, this is a white B, and this is a Toshiba mono. Which wins? You know it already. Toshiba wins. Here comes an original. No, it's a Liberty. Sorry, it's a Liberty pressing. And this is a French pressing. And I think, is this a DMM? Let me check. No. It's a later French pressing. The Liberty wins, same session, And to me, when you go in this Blue Note catalog and you collect them and you see Art Blakey, buy these two records only when you are really into drums. On the other side, I think it's great that these two guys, German Jewish guys, gave Art Blakey the possibility to release these records, which is basically drumming and African Latin style drumming, and it's fantastic. He's playing his ass off. But for the listener who thinks, it's a Blue Note, beware, this is a lot of drums, mostly drums and percussion. Mr. Jimmy Smith, I think this is white B. As I said, middle class sounding pressing, but not as bad as you sometimes read when you read these collector sites about Blue Note collecting. Japanese mono, Toshiba, fantastic. It's an amazing record. And the Sonny Rollins record. This is a King pressing. This is an example for a great recorded session. And when you have a good pressing, like this Japanese King pressing, it's really killing. French pressing, but not DMM. Johnny Griffin, Hank Mobley, 1560. Again, Japanese. And the next, 1561, Sabo Martinez, Latin percussionist. Also buy this only if you are into percussion, or if you are a completist like I am. This is a Japanese Toshiba pressing. again, Toshiba, 1562. 1563, this is, black, blue. Sometimes on the Jimmy Smith records, that's why I'm not so fussy about the pressing. You hear that the guitar is distorting and everything is a little bit hot recorded. And I think I played with organ players, and when you play with a real Hammond B3 player and he has his Leslie with him, this is so loud. And when you are a guitar player, only have this small amp, you really have to crank it up. And when you hear Eddie McFadden on some of these records, you hear his guitar is distorting. It's close to a Clapton woman tone. And I know how he felt, because he had to turn up because Jimmy Smith was going crazy. And to me, this is hurting the sound. So I think Jimmy Smith had a pretty big ego. So most of his recording are not that, sometimes he goes a little overboard, let's say it this way. This is an interesting one. This is a United Artist mono pressing. And there was a talk about this on YouTube. I think Ken McAuliffe talked about them. And yes, they are great pressings. They sound really good. But they don't sound better than a Japanese Toshiba. Sorry. Sometimes you hear this, the Japanese don't have so much bass. Maybe that's true for rock music, okay? But for jazz, no. They have enough bass. And the King pressings are really punchy at the bottom. So this is a good pressing. This is a very good version, and it's in mint condition, near mint condition, fantastic record. But not better than a Japanese. This is a pressing where you should stay away, because this is a Scorpio, 304 Park Avenue. You get them cheap, and if you don't care too much about, you just want to have the music, why not buy a Scorpio? And I even heard some DJs say they like it, and I can't imagine why, because when you are a DJ, it's not so much hi-fi and it's not so much audiophile, because they are pretty compressed. So I think it's easier to DJ with something like this when you play this record to an audience, because it's not so dynamic. So, but if you are into a good sound, I would stay away from them. I had a Maiden Voyage, Park Avenue, Herbie Hancock Maiden Voyage, and now I found the King pressing and I replaced it. And the King pressing dwarfs the Scorpio. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's really killing it. So this is a filler. Whenever I find a good version of this, I will buy it, because it's a great record. It would be worth the money. It's just that it's hard to find. So I have to live with the Scorpio. King pressing in mono. I mean, it's not getting any better than this. Toshiba, Curtis Fuller, great record. I mean, all these are great. I would love to have this as an original, but this is a Japanese Toshiba. Then I call it the porn version of Blue Note, the Tone Poets, but I have to give it to Kevin, to what's his name? I'm getting old, man. Joe Hawley, and it was by Kevin Gray. He's the true Blue Note mastering genius, because he brings this Blue Note sound to the modern system. And I think he's doing a fantastic job. 1570, Sonny Clark, Toshiba, and again Toshiba. Fantastic album. King pressing in mono. Great sounding. Nobody knows him, John Jenkins, but it's a shame. It's great music, and it's worth owning. King pressing, Japanese, near mint condition, with Kenny Burrell on the guitar. You never go wrong with Kenny Burrell on the guitar. Toshiba, Hank Mobley, and again Toshiba in mono from Lee Morgan. So, to the last 25 then. Sonny Crick, Sunny Script, Sonny Clark record. Fantastic record with Joe Coltrane on it. Toshiba pressing. I had Blue Train and I had a French Marconi pressing, a DMM. And this is a horrible pressing. And now I found the King. And it's a stereo. It's a King stereo. But when you compare this, I mean, the King pressing dwarfs the French pressing. It's so much more dynamic and so much warmer and more enjoyable listening. Yeah, it's worth spending the money. King pressing, Lee Morgan. So I don't have the tone poet of this. I think, as far as I'm into it now, I have about 270 blue notes now. To me, the King pressings sound better than the tone poets. Maybe I'm wrong. King pressing, Sonny Clark. This is Connoisseur. This is funny because these Connoisseur pressings, they have the wrong number on it, and I don't know why they did it. And this is 90 stuff. I think this is 94. And I remember I saw them in New York and I bought them on CD. And they have a good reputation, and I think they deserve it. To me, it's kind of like quality-wise, like a Toshiba Japanese pressing. I have 3 of them, I think. Not in the 4000 or 4100. They have some more, and they sound good. So when you get them to the right price, they sound. This is a recommendation. Next one, very important record. I have 2 of them, White Blue and the Toshiba. Again, comparing the pressings, it's very good when you do this by yourself, because then you can say, well, I made the comparison, I did the job, and to me, this one sounds better. Well, to me, I don't want to spend twice the money just to have this Japanese pressing. I'm fine with this one. So sometimes I spend the extra money to do this because I'm not trusting all this YouTube and internet recommendations. I want to experience it by myself. And it's not costing you a fortune. So, yeah, Japanese wins easily. Cliff Jordan, great record. Toshiba again. I see now how many Toshibas I have. Wow. And they are all in near mint condition. No noise. You can count the crackles on one hand for both sides. Curtis Fuller, again, great record. 1584. Toshiba again. Now this is a modern release. This is 80s, I think. Yeah. And the 80s and now the classic are wonderful versions and for a very good price. The second one, also for comparison, is the White Bee. So the modern one wins. Easy. Toshiba, Benny Green, 1587. 1588, very important record, Sonny Clark. Toshiba in mono. As I said, I like them. Horace Silver, Tone Poet, 1589 in stereo. Very good master. Lee Morgan Candy, 1590. Toshiba again. 1591. Lou Donaldson Takeoff, fantastic record. This is a stereo. 1593. Lou Donaldson again. That's funny. 91. 92. I think there is no 92. There are two numbers are missing. I know they're from one. I think it's a Sonny Clark. There's a reissue out, Japanese. I saw this, but it's not an original release from the time, so I'm not that interested. When I can pick it up, I will. But it's not in not so important because it has a poor cover. And I think maybe with the Tone Poets, they bring it out as a Tone Poet, then it will be mastered perfectly and it will get a nicer cover. So I wait for the re-releases of them. As you know, a lot of Tone Poets are releases of records they had in, or recordings they had in stock. 1593, Lou Donaldson, Toshiba, Louis Smith, one I didn't know, great trumpet player, Toshiba pressing. Now something interesting for comparison, maybe the most important of the 1500 series, maybe. So this is a classic record that was just released a couple of weeks ago, and you buy this for 25. This is a Toshiba, and they are really close in quality, but I still prefer Toshiba. Why? To me, this modern release of something else, even if it's done by the right mastering engineer, it's kind of an loudness mastering. They punch the bass up a little and the highs, and to me this is too much, especially when you hear the intro on Autumn Leaves. You hear the upright bass and he's really plucking the string, and when they add so much bass to it, it's becoming muddy and it's not so transparent anymore. So I like the Japanese version more than the modern one. Maybe it's just on this record. So they also say this is a Miles Davis record. No, it's not. You can read it. It's Cannonball Adderley. So they want to have Miles Davis on Blue Note because he had a different contract. Why? At this time, Julian Cannonball Adderley was becoming the new star on the alto saxophone, and Miles Davis played for him. And he played the head on Autumn Leaves, and it was never played better than this. Sometimes I hear, Miles Davis plays the lead on Autumn Leaves, and so it's more a Miles Davis session. Why? Cannonball Adderley was the band leader, and he decided that Miles should play the head, and it was a good decision because it's never played better. So that's my take on it. Okay, next and the last, but I think very interesting comparison. Kenny Burrell, Blue Lights. I was looking for this record very long. And this is a Japanese Toshiba again. And then I found a classic record. And these are modern reissues. 200 gram classic record, super vinyl. And I saw some videos on the internet where a collector had a lot of these classic records. So I thought, well, give it a chance. And I paid $80 for this. And I think it even was cheap because these classic records go for crazy money. And I thought, well, this will be an ultimate test because then I can test my love for Japanese pressings with a high grade, like analog productions, classic records, all this audiophile stuff from the past with my Japanese pressings that I love so much. And hate me for this, but this sucks. Sorry. When you put this on, it's the same session. The Toshiba kills the classic record easily. There's no question about it. I will never buy a classic record for this money. I would pay $30 for this. Then I'm okay, but they cost more than $100 now in the aftermarket. And sorry, maybe this is I got just the wrong example. Maybe that's the case. Write in the comments what are your thoughts on it. But to me, I don't get it why they are so expensive. I mean, it's okay, yeah, it's okay. But when I compare it to the Japanese, like this. Okay, Bud Powell, later Bud Powell record, also Toshiba. And 1599, Toshiba again, Betty Green. And the last one of the 1500 series is 1600. Sometimes you find lists on the internet where they say the 1500 series and they don't include this record. I don't get it. It's the end of the series. This is from 1501 up to 1600. 2 records, 2 numbers are missing. Not reissued. One of them you can buy as a Japanese pressing with a poor cover. But there is no 1600 series. Why Blue Note skipped from 1600 to 4000? I think nobody knows what was the reason for this. But I don't know either. And I think this is the first record of the three sounds. And this is an enjoyable listen. This is something you can put on when your girlfriend is here. And she will not leave when you put this on. This is an enjoyable, easy, relaxed listening. So I like this trio. There's a later one out with Lou Donaldson who plays the lead, which is a fantastic record. So this is my take on the Blue Note 1500 series. I'm now very proud that I made my first goal in collecting Blue Note records. I will collect the 4000, 4100, up to 4275. And I already have about half of them. I think it's about 150 records I'm missing. So this will take a while till I can buy them, but because I'm not a rich man. So, but I will let you know when my 4000 series is completed. Maybe in a year, or maybe in a half a year, but not earlier. Maybe at Christmas. So, first step in collecting Blue Note records, the complete 1500 series. You visit, you watch a proud owner. And my take on pressings. So, sure, I would have loved to have them in original pressings, because the originals are an artifact. It's a part of history, and it's a very good money investment. And they will rise in value, especially when they are in good condition, no question. Even the reissues, the Japanese reissues, are picking up and becoming more and more expensive. But sound-wise, from the ones I have about 3 or 4 originals all in all, I'm not that impressed, because they are from a different era. They were made for different hi-fi sets. And I think when you have a vintage system, then, and a mono cartridge and everything, then yes, I think the originals will be killing. But when you have a modern hi-fi system like I have, then I don't think the originals are the best choice. And I know I'm not alone with this. I watched a video of this guy who has this record store in America, the In Groove, and I think he has a lot of originals, he said. And he said the same. He said basically the same. He's not so much in Japanese records, what I heard. But he said the same. The originals are a collectible and money investment. But for the sound, there is better stuff out there. So, love it or hate it, that's my guess on it. That's my thoughts on it. So, see you again. I hope soon. But I don't know if I have time now, because spring is coming. I have to do a lot of work in my garden. I will not make a vinyl video that fast. And I hope you enjoy this one, and I hope you subscribe and stay to the channel. And see you next time. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.